Okay, I was waiting to make sure we were live and I just got that message. Good afternoon and welcome. We're glad to see you this afternoon. I know last Thursday at a brief meeting, Sean McKillop was here to receive our latest proposal, and we're very glad that Sean, you were able to make it and take that back to your team. Just to refresh everyone's memory, we were keeping our salary agreement as it had, or our salary proposal, excuse me, as it had previously been discussed, one step for all unit members on the scale, 1.75% to be added to the top step, which is step 21, and then a suggestion that both parties agree to discontinue pursuit of either of the language openers for this year, so 7.1 and 7.15. It would essentially mean they would remain unchanged for the last year of the 3-year contract so that's currently in place. And that if we were able to come to an agreement, we would be able to make that effective July 1, assuming we could move ratification along, and we discussed ways that we could also facilitate that and make that go as quickly as possible while abiding by your bylaws and rules that you have to follow. So we're here tonight to see what you think of all of that.
We appreciate your expression of your resubmitting. Am I on or not? Off. I'm off.
No, you're on. There you go.
We thank you for resubmitting your salary proposal from June 7th or June 9th and for your desire to reach a settlement without the intervention of the Labor Board. Sean had shared your proposal to the team by email since most of us were out of town. So, we do have something in writing to pass out to you.
Thank you.
We believe that both teams have dedicated a significant time and resource to the articles that you submitted, 7.1, and our article 7.15, during our negotiation sessions. We believe that the teams have nearly agreed on the 7.1 language, and we are very close to the language on 7.15. And the salary proposals from each team are not significantly different. We do not want to discard the work that the teams have done during these last 7 months, the time that we've dedicated to reaching this settlement on these articles. We submitted a best and final offer, including the articles and salary, and WCTA proposes that the teams not abandon the articles at this time.
Okay, I guess I would feel like your description of us being not so far apart on 7.15 is certainly in the eye of the beholder. I feel like your last best and final, the second set of best and final offers that you submitted or proposals that you submitted was further from being closer together than what we last discussed at the table. So it actually took a step back in our view. So if I'm interpreting this correctly, you're staying with what you currently have. The last set that was submitted, I believe it was June 20th, from Carlos by email.
Correct.
Okay. Team, do you have any questions? I think we probably need to caucus briefly. But before we do that, okay. All right, we'll take a few minutes here.
Sure. Is it okay if we just stay here since there's not a...
I'm not sure if the mics go off, so just.
1, 2, 3.
Give them all for reflection. Do you want to give them right away?
I think we could.
You want me to say it? You want me to tell them?
Okay, thank you. Sorry, we needed just a few minutes to kind of digest that.
Okay.
What we did also take the time to do was to print out your last and best on 7.15, as well as ours. And I would agree, and I think we said as much, that we are practically done, if not done, on 7.1. I think salary has gotten much closer. I would agree with that. But 7.15, I guess having looked at both of them again side by side, we'd like to hear what you think the key differences are at this point. I know you said you feel like we're getting closer, but obviously there are still differences, or else we'd be done. So what might those be?
Thanks. In short, I think the key difference we have is the distribution of the time on the early dismissal days. Both sides agree that we teachers need the time in the schools, the administrators, the supervisors. So that's where I think our key difference is the amount of time that is and how it's distributed on those early dismissal days, and that's why we feel that, you know, walking away from the language is I think contrary to what both our teams said is essential when we started the negotiation. So that's the key difference. We're pretty close in most of the language.
I think when we spoke, we had a similar conversation, and that appeared to be an area that was a major sticking point as well. The question that we have, you having provided your best and final, are you guys as a team in a position to still negotiate on this matter?
I believe the key there is we haven't received a counter to the language, and we haven't received a counter to the salary that is from the board's team that differs from what was submitted a month ago. So that's where if the board's team does have counters, it's something that our team could discuss. But on the 7th, you proposed parking that language and only dealing with salary, and now you're asking where we are. Where we are is we've submitted where a position that we consider to be the best in the final. And if the board, as I heard a couple weeks ago, thought there was something we'd be amenable to, but then there was no language. And so that's where if there's something that the board wants to counter propose regarding language, our team could discuss it. But at this point, there's been no language, there's only been salary.
Well, we did change the date on the salary counter to allow for ratification and still be effective July 1. So that was changed, and our proposal was to walk away from the language. So that was our proposal last time. However, I think we have some things that we could discuss this evening.
Well, and I think your written comments are not necessarily a proposal. They're basically, we should continue to work on these. We were close. So we were close at one point. The time difference was at the table, not in writing, was 60 minutes, and we were at 30 minutes. And we've not come any closer than that, in my recollection. Do you have anything that says we ever came closer? Is that where we pretty much stood? 60 and 30. So in an effort to try and come closer, would you be willing to entertain 45? Guaranteed self-directed planning time for teachers, each of those early dismissal days.
Minimum of 45.
Minimum, correct, because schools could schedule that if that was supportive of their school improvement plan.
I think our team would have to see a proposal in writing. As we've said, if we saw where the board stood for 7-1, 7-1-5 and salary, we would see everything that the board is proposing. It was something that we could discuss and could ponder, but I can't today, sitting here, say, yep.
Okay, well, we can go prepare it in writing if you're willing to stay for that.
One thing I'd bring up is that on an early dismissal, teachers also, again, I'm in the high school world, are losing planning time due to the shortened period of the day. So, in essence, even the 45 is only gaining me back what the norm is for every day.
However, as the language currently stands, we have backed away from the biweekly 50 minutes to once per month 50 minutes. So you're gaining there.
And you're gaining, if we said 45 minutes, I think the intention there was not to take your reduced periods that are basically 20 minutes and then only give you 20 minutes in addition to that. I think intention was that time was self-directed time.
And just to kind of point out, our last position was 30 minutes. Yours was 60 minutes. The go-between's 45. So it would seem to make sense for your team to consider, if we were to put that in writing, for that to be considered, because it is exactly in between the last two spots that we were at.
And it is something we considered. We also changed a 40-minute CFIP once a month to a 50-minute CFIP once a month. So we moved there as well from 40 to 50, and we also have made moves regarding salary, and so that's why I said if the board's prepared to present where they stand on the two language items and salary, that would definitely be something our team could discuss. I can't guarantee we'd have a settlement today, but if
It wouldn't take long to prepare those. They're minor revisions. So if you would give us that time, we'd be happy to do that.
And let me clarify, because you said you came forward from 40 minutes. It is currently in the negotiated agreement as 50 minutes.
it is, and we had earlier proposals that were at 40, and as you can see on 7.15, we upped that back to 50 because your team felt that was essential, that you could
Okay.
go to 50 instead of 40, so we did that. And we know what's in the language currently. We're trying to find common ground, and
Understandable. I was just trying to point out that that's currently what you have. That's not a forward. I understand what you're saying. It's a forward step from where you started. I understand.
And salary, we've made tremendous steps to come closer. As you mentioned, Dr. Pugh, that A&S recognize the difficult financial times, as have we. We've not asked for percentage increases. We've asked for steps plus a stipend due to the increases our members will face, and for the folks at the top who won't receive steps. So I mean, I think we've made tremendous moves regarding salary, and we've made moves regarding planning time that would be self-directed and collaborative.
Another concern on our side is the language we feel is a little restrictive, where it says once in a 4-week period during a 5-day work week, especially at the elementary level. The concern would be that perhaps we'd have one of those early dismissal days backed up on one of those 5-day weeks. So in order to be able to do a CFIP every other week, it would be helpful to remove some of that language.
So would you let us take a few minutes and provide that revision and give you something else to look at?
Certainly. Thanks.
I think I took you in.
Can't hear it up here. I don't think I can hear you in there. That's all.
Yeah, he'll do great. Of course, he knows my homeland security teacher. So the network going in and talking with our kids in our homeland security classes. So it's definitely
It's good for everyone.
won't hurt us one bit.
Okay, thank you for your patience. Mike is distributing, not submitting, distributing all three items. 7.1 has not changed, and it's noted there. It's just being resubmitted. And salary has not changed. By our calculation, we are still almost $500,000 apart in salary. But we do have a proposed change, as discussed earlier, to 7.15, and Mike is going to talk just a little bit about how we see that and what that means for your members.
Right. Based on the conversation we just had, we did change the language to reflect the 50 minutes per month, which we will give back to the teachers for self-directed time, and so it becomes only a one time per month meeting. And then we also secured the 45 minutes per month additional planning time for the 2.5-hour early dismissal days, giving a total of 95 minutes per month for self-directed, and then the other time for professional learning and collaborative planning and school-based PD.
And we did also note that it was a minimum of 45 minutes on the early dismissal days.
One question, is this the school system's best and final offering?
Well, we need to come to an agreement really tonight to every extent possible, because we've now asked the PSLRB for 2 extensions. I highly doubt they're going to give us another. And so our deadline now for responding to your request for impasse is Wednesday. So if there's something else that you want to propose, we would absolutely be willing to consider that. So no, I won't say it's our best and final at this point if you have something else you'd like us to consider.
And I think everybody at the table realizes the time-sensitive issue of trying to calendar these days in and get that out to parents and everyone. I think we're already behind the 8 ball a little bit on that. We need to move fast if that were to take place.
Thank you for this proposal. And in an email, you expressed that we had some concerns about the timeline, and we appreciate your assistance in helping the WCTA and getting our ballots out
Sure.
in a timely fashion, and understand that the process for the WCTA is hard ballots that have to be mailed out
Right.
and then counted, and so it isn't just a, quick turnaround for that process. So we appreciate that.
Sure. And we did, Sean can attest, we did provide that same offer, and it was accepted for ESP, and I do think it helped move things along a little more quickly.
So at this time, what we'd like to do is take this back to our full team and discuss this, and we will get back to you as soon as we can.
Okay, so understanding that I now have a deadline from the executive director of the Labor Relations Board to provide a response by Wednesday. Obviously, if we can avoid impasse, that would make, I think, all of us happy, but I don't think I would be happy to ask her, but I doubt I'll get another extension. So I would just encourage you to respond as quickly as you can.
Yeah, we have a couple members who couldn't come this
Sure.
evening, and a couple are out of town still.
understand.
And so we'd like it to discuss it with our full team.
Okay, so you're not,
To schedule another meeting time
well, the team,
tomorrow, or?
and we can absolutely do that. We can be here tomorrow, same time, same channel, literally, if you would like.
Would that be breaking the ground rules?
Oh, you're right, a week in advance. Thank you. We cannot do that. Thank you.
So how would we, given the ground rules, Except they're,
They've already,
don't-
they've already submitted.
I would suggest doing a meeting a week out, scheduling it.
And asking for another extension. Okay, so let's look at that. And that gives, if they're willing, that gives you more time to discuss and meet with your full team.
I can't speak for the entire team, but I know Mr. McKillop, Mr. Malat, and I will all, Mr. McKillop and Mr. Malat and I will all be at a state leadership event most of next week. So that would definitely inhibit we will not be on this side of the Chesapeake Bay due to the opportunity.
For any
That-
day next week?
Friday might be the earliest.
We can do that.
so there's no way that your team can caucus to discuss this offer now and at least come back with questions that you might have so that we can keep the process moving, given the Wednesday deadline?
Well, we have discussed the possibilities. We have to weigh with the full team the language items presented, knowing that there's no change to 7.1, but to discuss the salary, to discuss the planning time, the changes in those two paragraphs, and I know I can confidently say that I don't think we could do that in a caucus this evening. Now, if we could, again, knowing what the ground rules are, if we responded electronically to Mrs. Francisco, but I don't know how the team will react to that.
Well, that's already happened. I mean, that's how we received the first and second set of last and best final offers. I think, again, I'm willing to ask Ms. Snipes is her name at the Labor Relations Board. She's been very accommodating thus far, but I think we would need to say we have another meeting planned. I don't think it could just be nebulous and say we hope to meet again. I don't know that she would want to work with that. So could we schedule for next Friday?
Um,
I'm out of town.
I mean, we could schedule for Friday.
No.
I don't have my calendar available right now. I mean, we could schedule for Friday, or we could, as two sides, alter the ground rules to facilitate, an electronic exchange. But I don't know if you have
I don't.
the authority to make that change.
I don't, not without a discussion. There is one other alternative, and that is you could, at least temporarily, withdraw your request from the Labor Relations Board, knowing that you obviously would have the ability to resubmit. That would give us some more breathing room.
Yeah, again, that's something we would have to discuss at length if that's.
Does the school system need time to caucus or discuss altering the ground rules right now? Is that a possibility? Or you're just not going to have authorization today to do that?
Yes, we would not have authorization without a discussion with the board, and that would not take place until next Tuesday.
And I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there have been times throughout the whole year that our whole team hasn't been here for a variety of reasons. Even last week, there were members of our team who were not here. We still made decisions and had to move on. And if we have a meeting next week, that's great. I think we need to, but I won't be here. And I fully
wasn't here
support
last week.
whatever decisions are made. So full team discussion is great, but I also think that one individual can't hold up the entire process.
Well, I just like to run this by the whole team, and even if it's just through email, prior to making any formal decisions.
I would point out, too, we have a different organization on our side. Ours is a small D democratic organization where everyone gets an equal say. I know that's different from your organization, so we have to abide by that.
Thank you.
So you could get some feedback, possibly, to be back to us, to let us know one way or another.
we should schedule a
if we
meeting,
should schedule a meeting, or could we schedule a meeting and then,
take it off the
take it
calendar
off.
if we don't need it.
We will be able to respond to the board's offer at the minimum electronically to you before your deadline with Ms. Snipes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Any questions for us before we adjourn, or any other things we need to discuss? I don't think so. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That one's just not working right? Yeah, that one picked you up.
I think it's off.